Good evening. I would like to call to order this Town of Dayton Board of Health special meeting. It is currently 4:32 and we are located at Old Town Hall, 111 Somerset Ave. It is Wednesday, January 25th, 2023. This is also a remote participation Zoom meeting. It is a public meeting being recorded for cable broadcast and internet posting on www.dayton/mass.gov and YouTube. Can I get a roll call from the board members?
Paul Pacheco here. Patrick McGovern here.
And Nicole Mello. Can I ask us to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance?
Allegiance to the flag, United States of America, this republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Start with new business. A, we're going to review, discuss, act statutory requirements of the health agent.
Like a discussion about that.
Yes, so as we continue to reshape the department, and since the department consists of not a ton of individuals, I think it's important to have a strong understanding of the requirements that everyone in the department holds, especially as we go into budget season and we start looking at each line item. So I had asked the health agent to kind of give us a rundown. I know you sent us earlier an email to review some of the requirements and stuff like that. Do you have anything to add to that?
No, I mean, obviously, under each one of those brings other stuff. But the only other thing is Dayton, under our bylaws, stormwater is under the purview of the Board of Health. Other than that, no, I mean, there's a lot of information there and you can go through it, but we can talk about anything in particular, but.
I think so. I think I still had questions about like what only a health agent can do. Is there anything that only a health agent can do? Like, because does every town have a health agent? I just want to understand.
I think every town's supposed to have a health agent. But not every one of them has credentials.
Okay.
Some of them are certified health officers, some of them have degrees in public health, some of them have whatever, nursing degrees.
Or you get certificates like soils and stuff, and that makes you.
Yes, and then that you take training like housing training or soil training, and you can then be a soil evaluator or a housing inspector, but they're all over the map, which is part of that whole assessment.
Okay. I wasn't able to look completely over everything you sent, but I will. Did anyone have any comments on any of that?
No, I didn't get a chance to read it.
Yeah, I didn't either, and due to the fact that we got selectmen coming in at 6, and I think we have, I changed my evaluation, I don't know if you guys did, until we get the evaluations and we know where the board's structured, I think we should table it. So I'll make a motion that we table it.
Can I get,
So we're just tabling the discussion on the requirements of what Todd sent us.
Yes.
Okay, yeah, second.
any discussion? No? Can I get a vote?
Aye.
Aye.
Great. That passes.
So do you want to wait until after we have an office manager in place to have the discussion? Just at the next
I
meeting.
would like that, if that's okay with you. guys.
That's reasonable. And then like you mentioned, evaluations will be completed.
Right, the evaluations be completed, we'll find out more structure of the, and I think we can make a better educated decision than we can tonight. Now we really, well, look through everything.
All right, so we're going to move on to review, discuss, act fiscal year 2024 budget. Who's going to be, are you going to be speaking on that? Who's gonna-
I've been working
Paul?
with Mr. Aguirre on that, but he has all the figures there, so I'm gonna let him lead.
All right,
Sure. Hello, everyone. Hello, Dayton. So yeah, what I'd like to do is go line by line. I think we can keep this detailed yet pithy, and I say that because a lot of the vetting, including restructuring, transferring of duties, at least in part, has been discussed in earnest with the town administrator and the town accountant. And all are in agreement. And through email, I sort of acted on behalf of the board to try to vet that all out, especially working in the past with member Pacheco. So if you want, I can just start and we'll go down the list. Tom wasn't sure if he'd be here, but he's here, so certainly he can speak on some of the lines that he's going to take over. The administration, the town accountant would like to combine a couple of accounts, specifically 510 and 519, which currently are looked at independently. They want to combine because they have a lot of overlapping lines within them. And then with respect to transfer station lines, Tom has agreed that, those lines should be transferred over to him for his oversight. So they'll be now reflected in the highway department's budget. So if you want, we can start with that, seeing as Tom's here, and I'm sure Tom doesn't want to sit for the whole discussion.
Don't want to, Tom? So will that be, are we in agreement that that will be happening
Immediately.
immediately? Okay, yep.
So if you want to start with 5105, which is for segment 433, which is salary landfill attendant. Everybody got that line?
Mhm.
Okay, that account is going to move over to Tom. So with the Board of Health, will no longer have any oversight over that account. That line, I'm sorry. The next line, 5115, which is salary clerk part-time, which was, as I understood it, coverage for the attendant. That's also going to move to Tom.
So that's if the attendant wasn't there and we had to have somebody else cover?
Right.
Okay,
And Tom is going to work with the administration on further fine tuning those lines, but they're no longer going to be under the auspices of the board. The third item, 5290, hired equipment, that is also going to move to the highway department. And just for everyone's edification, that currently is being used for the tub grinding for brush, storm damaged trees, et cetera, et cetera. And again, correct me if I'm wrong. So that mainly is used to deal with the spoils left over from storms and from the drop-offs at the transfer station. That's why it's going to go over to Tom. Mr. Ferry. The next line, or the next several lines actually have to do with solid waste. So until the discussion evolves on whether enterprising is in order or not, that will remain with the Board of Health. So the next line is the first line that we can start in discussion, which is 5291, rubbish collection. And Todd can jump in. I believe the next several lines are all contractual with our current rubbish company, which is Borges. So that said, I believe we're in the first year of a 3-year contract with them.
Mhm.
So we need to discuss if the numbers in those next 5 lines. Actually, before I do that, Madam Chair, there are 3 other lines that are going to go to Tom. Should we discuss those so Tom doesn't have to sit?
Yeah, I would like to keep it all together.
All right. So if you want to skip down to 5302. Which currently is named landfill trash bulky. Does everyone see that line, 67,500?
Mhm.
That's gonna move over to Mr. Ferry.
Actually, I don't have that sheet in front of me. Only got the agenda.
Is that, were you gonna have Todd print one out for you?
I didn't ask him to, but
Oh, okay.
I'll take the notes and get copies from you later.
Well, this is the same stuff that you and I looked at, so.
Yeah.
Okay. The next line, 5303, which is landfill recyclery. That's also gonna move to Mr. Ferry. And 5580, automobile stickers, which is the stickers required to get in the transfer station property, is also gonna move to Mr. Ferry. You in agreement with?
Communication building, we have what I hope,
Right. I'll get to that.
that doesn't cover the English books.
Right, so,
That would be office supplies.
Yeah.
right, so what Tom is alluding to is we have an office supplies line that we don't want to get rid of just yet. But Tom is saying that he will need to include an office line for, transfer station books.
Right. So I don't know if this is all gonna stay under the Board of Health numbers, or it's just gonna move to my line.
She's gonna move over to your lines.
So the dollar value move over.
Right, exactly. So that said, who has possession of any current blank invoice transfer station books?
We do.
So we'll need to relinquish those to Mr. Ferry.
Yes,
Okay, where we know where those are.
yes.
Okay,
We lost the book though, somewhere at the attendance station. Nobody knows where it went, the whole book. But anyhow, yes, we have the rest of them here.
all right, so,
We get the rest of the stickers here too and all that.
all right, so we'll relinquish that. If so chooses, but that seems to be the consensus.
Yeah, it seems like everything's going and I want.
Yeah.
Them to have what they need to.
So unless I missed something, that's the cusp of what's going over to you. The rest of it stays in Board of Health.
What happened when Dean Cronin was here? He changed the metal roll-off, that's not gorgeous.
Right,
I don't know what agreement the Board of Health has with Mid-City, if there's a written agreement or not.
so I do have an answer for that. If you'd like to hear it. We have money funded in 510. It's a special article for 2 roll-off containers for $12,000. None of that money's been expended to date. That really needs to be under Tom's control. However, because it's a special article and the nomenclature in the article put the money under control of the Board of Health. I think what Tom is saying is that we need to have some joint effort between the two to give him what he needs for the transfer station. But your board will actually be the only ones who can expend those funds.
Is that what you're saying, Tom?
What, that wasn't the comment about the Mid-City, so that must be. That's the special article to replace the roll-offs and repair. That's something different.
Okay, but you agree that they'll have to work with you on that, right?
Yeah, I don't know if any momentum was actually done, any procurement done yet,
No. Nothing.
replace.
Okay,
Okay, so yeah, I just, want you to spend that.
okay.
Because
So-
we get held up on whether or not we're gonna use it for mattresses and that kind of thing, and that's why we didn't spend it at the time in the beginning of the
Oh, I
year.
see, for the type of container.
Yeah.
Right, okay.
So, but now that the mattress, it's not for that, now we can do something with the money.
Okay.
And then,
But back to the Mid-City,
yeah, so what is that you're referring to?
Mid-City drops off the roll-off. It's not part of the rotation of the other roll-offs and transfer station.
Okay,
That was an arrangement I wasn't part of.
okay,
I had a different arrangement and that was done without any meetings.
okay.
So I don't know, I'm asking if there's any arrangement in the city.
Not that I know.
They charge us to pick up every time. And originally before there was no charge.
You're talking about metal?
Yeah.
Okay, so in the app, we don't have a contract for that.
Not that I'm aware of.
So in my opinion, this is my professional opinion, in the absence of a contract, you do as you wish. With the metals, if you want to use another vendor, then would be up to you.
Yeah, we'll explore that.
One question. Normally, when scrap companies bring a dumpster out, they take those metal, they bring it back, and then they send you a check. Well, they weigh it up.
Okay, they send you the difference, but
So why are we getting charged instead of getting a check? We should be getting paid for that.
increase, I didn't pay for the fuel.
So you
So
say,
there's no agreement, right? It just started happening, the charges.
They used to be calling me for scrap all the time.
I mean, it could be as simple as we only roll off and add it to the contract with the guy that's doing the roll offs.
There's also a scrapyard right down here in Taunton that probably wouldn't charge us some mileage.
and just a suggestion, if we have that 12,000, if it's not allocated, maybe you can work with the board to get our own roll off for that
Well,
purpose.
we have decaying roll offs. That's
Okay,
definitely replace and repair the existing
okay,
and also cover for the cardboard to protect that.
okay. Okay, that's all that was discussed to go over to Mr. Ferry. Do you have anything to add?
At this time,
Okay,
We good?
And so,
Okay,
so, uh, creates a question, so, because they're in the process of hiring too. So processing the invoices. That's gonna be on us.
Yes,
So you're gonna take all the slips to them, all the slips that are done, you're gonna take over
Well,
payroll.
I think my Nancy's doing that right now. I'm fine helping out for now because you don't have a full-time clerk. So if we need to all work together as a team to do that, just let me know. We can let that happen.
Yeah, that, the current process has to remain until my hours, when my assistant gets improved.
Yeah. So we're all in agreement.
So we're still
Yeah.
processing payroll.
It appears that way, yes.
yeah, right.
This is a transition, so it's not just you stop and start, so. We're all on the same team,
Mhm.
okay?
And if there's anything we didn't think of that you need help with or what, why we're transitioning,
Right.
please let us know.
So we just need to be clear on the timing, so I guess should jump right into it now, minus the processing of the payroll invoices.
Mhm.
Okay.
If that's okay with you. I mean, we're handing something off to you, you're essentially,
I, just to be clear too, these were all budgeted through the Board of Health. So there's still gonna be some overlap
Mhm.
in even processing some of these things until the year, ends. But going forward with planning, this is all gonna move over to Tom. So, and you're gonna make the decisions just in processing some of this stuff, we'll still be working jointly.
Right.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
are we good? I feel like we're not. All right, we're gonna,
Don't you know Tom by now?
no,
This is what you get from Tom.
oh, okay, I'll have to get used to it.
All right, so if you want to go back to solid waste, that starts at 5291, 5292, 5293, 5294. So those are contractual that I understand. And Todd, you know more about this than I. I just jumped in to try to help, but I don't know the details specifically. But as I started to say earlier, we're in the first year of a 3-year contract. I'm guessing there are escalation costs year to year. So if we're going to carry a number for FY24, we need to go over those now.
Oh, I didn't bring them up with me. I gave them to him. So I thought you were doing it all. I didn't bring it all upstairs. I can go down and get it all.
This isn't my department.
No, I understand that, but that's why I given you the contract.
What all those, gonna print and bring.
I can go downstairs and get them. You gotta give me a minute.
Yeah, that's okay.
It's okay. So we can go back to that if you want.
Yeah, if, while he gets that, if we can move on to another.
So sorry, my glasses. I have that same problem that you have. Hazmat disposal.
Mm-hmm.
The town administrator would like to fund that at 0 for FY24. And the reason he'd like to fund that at 0 is he'd like to discuss the option of regionalizing or perhaps another way to do a hazmat day.
Yeah.
So he would like to fund that at 0 and have that discussion moving forward happen between the administration and the Board of Health. It seems like right now the taxpayer is bearing all the costs for that. And he'd like to see if there's another way that we can deal with the hazardous waste, yet not have the taxpayer bear the cost of it.
Hazardous waste day, do folks, when they bring their stuff, they pay for it, right?
Not always, no,
No, never.
right? Yes, so that's the problem. I didn't know that until today.
Which I knew that before today.
I'm just gonna collect all this hazardous waste.
What happens if we fund it at 0? And get it to happen at 0?
Well, we don't have to have a hazardous waste day, right?
No, we don't. We don't. That's what I found out today. We don't have to have one, but there's a long time between now and town meeting where we can have the discussion evolve. If that's something that the board feels that we should.
And in the past, isn't that how we didn't have this in there and we would bring it to town meeting and,
A special, right?
yeah.
Exactly. Yes, yes. So I didn't see any harm in that rationale, honestly, today.
No,
So. But obviously, this is a budget under your control, so, you know, it's up to you.
Oh, that was-
Thoughts on that?
I've been in favor of it. I agree. I mean, let's kind of leave it as a zero line item. If we can't regionalize it, we can get it in. What has past costs been with it?
I'm sorry,
What was the past costs associated with it?
12 to 16,000, I'm told. I don't know that for sure, but it's not a small amount of money.
Yeah.
No,
So let's wait on
that
it.
sound about right?
Oh, I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
Hazmat day, 12 to 15
Yeah.
grand, 12 to 16
around
grand.
15 grand, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, the next line, which is 5,300 monitor and testing wells. I did actually get a copy of that contract today from the town administrator. This is also a multi-year contract. And this contract was issued September of 2022. It's a 3-year contract. So this line covers the first year expenses in part for the Tremont Street location, which is the landfill, and for Hot Street monitoring, which we currently don't have a contract for. So that money that's in there is appropriated for inspections of those 2 sites. However, we have not put the second site under contract as of yet. So this is a line that must be funded, and it appears based on the contract that I have, that the 20,000 would be sufficient for both the Tremont Street, which we have a contract for, and the amount of money remaining, which would be about $8,000 to do the Hart Street location.
Does that happen once a year?
That would be the item 1 on your tender. That's one of the obligations.
Right. So this wasn't one of the items going to Mr. Ferry, because it's not a health statutory that has to do this, so that will remain under your
Mhm.
control.
We can help you with it. Get to the sites, locate them and stuff like that.
Is it yearly? Or is it,
A few times a year, right?
oh, several?
Time of year on some of the scopes and one,
Okay. I'm sorry, it was Hart Street, and what was the other location?
Fremont, though.
Fremont? Oh, just the regular one.
Right. So we have a contract for the Tremont Street landfill and transfer station location. And as I said, that was September of 22, and it runs for a 3-year period. So this line will have to be funded every year because it's a requirement of the board to keep up with the monitoring and the inspections at these sites.
Right.
I did not know until today that we don't have a contract for the Hot Street location, so I would suggest that we make that a priority going forward. I don't think it was anybody's fault. It's just one of those things. So we should put that on a future agenda for discussion and.
All right.
So I'm being advised based on what I've seen that we should carry the $20,000 number through to FY 24. Do you have anything to add on that?
No, other than, I don't know how often I'm gonna have to be doing Hart Street. You don't know that.
yeah, that's just a required third-party inspection, like this.
Given how often is what I mean.
It's once a year, usually around October. It's the same as the current one, the 1 Fremont.
Is that the one that ICI had?
Town of Dayton had it, ICI used it. That was a burnt landfill. We already had a limited assessment done in the recent past, and this was just a continuation on it.
I know there was one down on Pleasant Street. Those are weird.
That's the same one.
Same on the,
Yeah, and the state recognizes that as Somerset Ave.
So we recognize it as Hart.
It's the
All
same-
thinks it's
same-
on Pleasant and the state thinks on Somerset. I wouldn't be any different,
I
right?
still have no idea what it is, so we're all good.
Now that I said that, see Somerset Ave, as you jump out of canal. Hart Street is the same one, because that's where the town used to enter, and they also egress through Pleasant Street. There's a gate there. All goes to the same place.
I don't know if it's considered a landfill or not, but there's also one on Elm Street.
Yes, that is a landfill. That is capped.
Yeah, I believe that was a private one for ICI.
Yes, it was, and that is tapped and monitored, upgrading and downgrading.
We're not required.
Do we have to pay for the monitoring or is it?
No, no, but I believe they're responsible to send you copies of the records.
Do we get those records? Okay. So that's that's third party, privately controlled, but they are responsible to send us reporting.
That would be,
And DEP.
right, that is something that always, we need Board of Health for. That's one of the things you always.
Oh, yes,
So in the future, we'll read those reports.
in the far future.
Yes.
All right, okay, so next item,
Back to solid waste.
yes,
Okay. So
on,
That's the original Borges contract I just gave you.
you can speak on it.
No, I'm saying it's the original. I didn't make it.
Okay, that's
Want a
fine.
copy, I gotta make
No,
a
you,
copy.
you can speak on it.
So it's the first year and, he's given us the price for the next 2 years, so we know what those prices are. What else? The disposal rates are subject to change and they do change a lot. They go up and down a lot. The bulky waste, he was carrying 115, it went up to 140, went back down to 100, it went up to 110. It's all over the place. So I cannot predict what that's gonna be. Disposal of mattresses and box springs, again, he's saying $50, it's now 125.
mhm,
Cardboard is not in here, but it's now $40 a ton for cardboard. Somewhere, yeah, $40 a ton for cardboard, where we were not being charged for cardboard before. So, yeah, I think that's about it. Market is volatile, I believe is the word, so.
so some of those things we should take into account going into this year.
Is there a way that we get paid for the cardboard?
Nobody wants it anymore. The best we've been able to do in the past is that somebody will take it free. We just had to pay for the haul cost, but that we could dump off the cardboard and they would just take it for free.
So I know going back a few years back, it was a good commodity. You could get $2.75 a ton for it.
Right.
You bailed it up properly.
Right, if it's dry and baled, right now ours is getting weather. So
And we don't bail it.
we don't bail it, so let's get it covered and move on.
Yes, if it's covered, the tonnage will go down, if nothing else, because it won't be wet cardboard.
So again, I'm gonna help as much as I can, but I don't have intimate knowledge of each of these lines. So if it's contractual, we should be able to quantify the number for some of these lines based on the contract amount. If some of these lines use the tipping fee per ton and it fluctuates so much, then my recommendation would be to take the highest tonnage rate that we've seen historically and carry that number into the next fiscal year, because we know the ceiling could be there at minimum.
Right.
So that's just my opinion.
Makes sense.
mhm.
Is that the number? So I don't have it in front of me either, but is that the number that we're basing it off of?
Well, yeah, I think what needs to happen now is based on the contract, we need to come up with some suggestions for these 4 lines. And if that can't be done right now, Todd, then we definitely have to have it for February 1st, the next meeting.
Yeah, I can't do it right now because
Okay.
it's just the numbers are.
Okay.
And I haven't even finished them all yet because we've been working on other stuff, including estimates of how many mattresses and the counts with Bob Perry. Member of the solid waste committee to try and figure out historically what we've done so that we can predict what's going to be in the future. And he's done the last 3 years of
Mhm.
data, analysis. That's,
But we probably have enough data for you to be able to look to see,
I do now that
Okay.
Bob Perry's done all his part,
okay,
but that he only completed like a week ago.
okay.
So, and we're still figuring out how to present the data.
I just want to make sure you have what you need.
Okay, so we'll expect an update on that next meeting. Perfect. All right, so jumping down to 5340, which is communications. I was unsure what this was, but I was told today with Tom's help. This is for public relations mailers. So we have a $2,000 line, amount in that line. We have not expended anything to date yet. But it's my understanding that that's a mailer that should go out and needs to go out.
Solid waste is gonna enjoy that.
Yeah,
Right. So I'm guessing that we've still got 6 months left of this year. That line will probably be expended. So I think my recommendation would be to carry that number to FY 24.
mhm.
Next line, 5240 is office supplies, 500. I did look back historically.
5420.
Oh, 5420, I'm sorry. $500. I did look back historically at our expenditures. We're right around the $500 mark. So I think that's a good number to carry.
Stupid question with that number though. Like a new office manager, is there any? I don't know, just a general question with a new office manager, is there any expenses that are going to be new for the hire? I mean, I know obviously coming from private industry, if you hire somebody into that level, there's an expectation that they need certain things. Or are they all set? Do we think?
Those office supplies is basically only the invoice books, I believe. It's not.
Okay.
Office supplies, like per se, like staplers and that kind of stuff.
Okay, all right.
I don't know. Exactly what's in that line, but I'm pretty sure it's just those books.
Okay.
We would,
So if that's for the books. And I wasn't told this today, should that line be going to Mr. Ferry
So
also?
that's what he said earlier. Yeah.
Because that was not discussed today in our joint finance meeting.
Moving the communication line.
No, the office supply line.
so Todd, where do we get our staples?
That's in the other.
It looks like there's another
Yeah,
one.
there's another one.
We don't staple things.
We take the staples out.
So if you need to make it official, you gotta bring up that line to move it.
Yeah, if in light of what Todd just said, if that's true,
Or at
then
least
yeah, I
or
would
at
think
least a
that,
dollar value.
I would think that we need to move that over.
That would go to-
Mr. Ferry.
Yep.
Okay. So 5420 is going to move over to Mr. Ferry.
I'm sorry, what did you say? What are those books called that they use? Oh, just the invoice
This
book?
is the-
Oh.
Is that what you call them?
Yep. Okay, next one is gonna have a little bit of discussion, 5240 trash bags,
5581.
581, I'm sorry. I didn't bring my ruler, so I'll use this. 5581 trash bags, $40,000. We've expended all of it to date, but just about. So none of you, none of the current board members were involved in the quagmire last year with almost running out of trash bags. I was unfortunately part of that discussion. And Todd, you can jump in at any time, please. It seems that we are buying our trash bags at the beginning of the fiscal year, hoping that we have enough to make it till the end of the next year, fiscal year. And last year we ran into a problem where we almost ran out. So there was a bit of shuffling back and forth. We had to place an order. There was some counting issues with placing an order prior to the end of the fiscal year on monies that hadn't been allocated yet for the following fiscal year. So it just creates a mess, quite frankly. I logistically would suggest that we buy trash bags mid-year. So we don't have that problem running down to the end of the year, because if you buy them mid-year, your fiscal year is starting and ending 6 months from the date of your purchase. To me, you have a lot more time to deal with a problem if one occurs versus trying to do it at the exact same time your year is ending.
Right.
So the problem is logistically, how do we do that now? Because we only allocated a certain amount of money, which we've already expended to date in its entirety, yet we don't know if we're gonna make it till June 30th.
And we don't get that money back by selling the bags?
We do, but it goes to the general fund. So
Okay.
that's a discussion for another day with solid waste enterprising and all that.
Okay.
Stick to what we have on the table now. So, so the thought today that was discussed was entertaining the fact of maybe increasing that line to a point where we could buy more than we need. So that we know that we make our next purchase, we'll get through till the end of the following year. So that we can, next year's allocation, we won't spend the day the fiscal year starts.
Right.
We'll have that money in the coffers, we'll have trash, plenty of trash bags, and that'll bring us to the mid fiscal year. The problem is that that line's gonna jump significantly because we'll have to buy a year and a half worth of bags to get us to that point.
Well, are those bags dated?
No.
No.
The other thing I don't know is whether we can do a partial order, whether we can do an order and then do a special town meeting article to buy another 6 months worth of bags. I don't know those details because I've never ordered the bags.
If we put that money in to buy them, say for even a year and a half. Now, the money's there for us to buy. We don't have to spend it all at once. Why can't we buy half of the bags we need?
We get bulk purchasing power that I understand.
How many bags talking about?
In an order or in a year or?
Yeah,
It's like 400 cases of large and 100 cases of small, give or take. I have all the numbers. I just
yeah.
don't have them.
How many's in a case?
25 rolls in a case and 10 bags in each roll.
10 bags each roll. I'm just trying to figure out.
25 rolls.
What did you say?
250.
What did you say? 400 cases times 25 times 10, 100,000 bags.
Okay. In the print world, when you go from 250, 500, you get a big savings. But once you start to get to 10,000 and 20,000, the savings is very, very little because they can only cut the cost down so much.
Mhm.
So we could look into that. If it's 400,000 bags and we ordered 300,000. And then another thing, I don't think it's gonna cost us that much more money at all to have two separate orders. You know, if it's sizable orders like that.
So my suggestion tonight, if you so choose, is that this is another item that we bring up at the next meeting, but we come back with quantifiable data. How many bags are we selling in a year historically? What's the minimum order? What's the vendor we use? Are there other vendors out there? I'd like to have that discussion if you're willing.
I think that we should price it out.
Well, you said the 40,000's been spent, right? Do we have bags left or are we looking to, do we have to get more money? Do we know?
Right now, Tom told me today that we have bags left.
Yeah, the inventory's downstairs. We'd have to get back to you on that one.
So as long as we're not worrying about pulling money to end this year right now, right?
No, but the problem respectively was that we waited until May or June.
Right.
And then we were like, what do you do?
No, I mean, I agree. Either do 2 orders a year or put it halfway into the year. So you're overlapping budget years. We have to.
Right.
So if I may, what happened was when COVID hit, our trash consumption escalated. And the price of trash bags doubled. And of course, none of that was in the budget. But this happened, COVID started in March of 2020. So we got hit hard at the end of fiscal year 2020. But the budget had already been set for fiscal year 2021. So we were behind in 2021. The other problem is we always had a contract for 2-3 years or whatever with these people. They wouldn't give us a contract that lasted more than a week now
Right.
because the prices were so volatile. So based on the prices that were escalating, we decided to buy everything that we had the money for, get as much as we could, but we're limited in how much we can fit in the trailer. So, I mean, we would keep some in the highway barn and all that. There's also a minimum order that we can place because they're coming from Springfield with this order. And I forget how many pallets it is. I don't know off the top of my head. Something like 150 cases or something, but whatever. So there's minimum orders that we have to place. That was part of it. But what happened is because we didn't have the money in the budget for 2 straight years, we were behind. So normally we would order in the middle of the year or place 2 orders in the year. But what was happening is we were running out of bags because we're behind. So we need to get ahead on the budget. But last year when we tried to go ahead, they didn't want to give us that extra so we could get ahead. Instead of buying 200 cases of small, we were only able to buy 100 cases of small. And it's a game of knowing when it's gonna run out and how many we buy.
When you said they wouldn't let us, are you talking about?
FinCom, yeah.
Okay, but I feel like if we had what we're talking about, the fact that we ran out when I mean, if we presented this, I mean, I'm sure they could, feel like it's a pretty good argument.
I'm not gonna argue. It's a good argument.
Yeah.
Say, we did kind of present this, but 2 years ago, we were $80,000 short on our budget. Because of trash, because the prices of trash have gone up so much.
Because everybody was home too.
Right, so the volumes have gone up. I can tell you how much per household that they've gone up. Again, I got all the numbers. I just don't have them at the tip of my fingers. That's a solid waste meeting. So yeah, so we were behind. We were always fine and we were ordering twice a year and everything was good, but then like say all of a sudden the bags are selling faster than we could pay for them. So. Yes. So it's a little weird. We need to get a little bit ahead, but we'll have the same discussion with solid waste and everything else with, like mattresses and everything else we got behind because we weren't collecting them. We're gonna have to
And I
figure it out.
know this definitely probably a discussion for another day, but like, is bags the way to go? Like, is this
So,
the way to, and I'm sure this is like meetings down
He
the,
stole my thunder.
oh,
so what I was gonna say, just to complicate things even more, is we're not sure if that's the way to go. And that needs to be vetted by the solid waste committee, and that's where the enterprising discussion comes in. So the other part of this is, even though I want to say, yeah, let's go out and buy a year and a half's worth of bags, if the decision is made to bring to the people to enterprise solid waste and completely change the way solid waste is looked at, you might not need bags anymore. So now what do we do with all these bags? So we need to be really careful about all this and how we manage it. So no one said it was going to be easy, but
No, I feel like I'm gonna be screwed with any decision I make.
Not gonna happen this annual.
Yeah, no.
I think you'll maybe see something for the fall town meeting, but I really think that it won't be until next year's annual town meeting before anything really substantive comes to play. So we still have a ways to go. But just be mindful of that, because the last thing we want to do is have, a half a container full of bags if we decide to go a different route that doesn't require bags. So.
Right, now. Earlier, we say we're in the first year or 3-year contract with Borges. Borges doesn't have the equipment like some of the towns that reach out and grab a can.
Right.
So we're gonna probably be using bags until this contract's over.
It's a good point.
And if his contract renewed, we probably still.
Mhm.
If he doesn't renew, we go to somebody like BFI or something that has that. Then we're gonna have to deal with getting everybody a trash can that they can put outside of the house. And then the truck just comes out and grabs it.
Two trash cans, one for trash, one for recycling.
But that's something of the future, the way,
Right.
especially with labor, you can't get people to ride on the back of the truck anymore.
Mhm.
Send one guy over the truck by himself.
There is a third option, which, and this will all be vetted in solid waste, privatization. There are a lot of communities who don't do anything with solid waste. It's all privatized,
Mhm.
meaning the consumer hires the company who picks up their trash. I think, and I'd have to vet this, I think the town has control over who vendors can be. In other words, they can limit how many vendors will come into town. That way they don't have trash cans on the street 7 days a week. But that's also an option that will be looked at.
Mhm.
So that means that it goes privatized. If somebody has their own dumpster and doesn't want to have that, they don't have to pay.
Right. It's strictly be user based, which is why it has a lot of traction.
Right.
User pays for, and the user will pay based on the amount of trash that they create.
Right.
So with a private company, at least my experience is there's 2 different size barrels. You pay based on the size of the barrel.
Right.
If you're a low trash producer, you have a smaller barrel, lower cost. Large producer, obviously. That's
I wonder if communities that utilize that are more mindful of their,
what we had before we moved,
if I had to pay for it, I didn't know.
we had like the big
Thanks.
Right.
trash cans on wheels with like a 90 liter or something like
Right,
that and
right.
paid quarterly or something. I think we paid the town though. And the town paid the vendor.
Yes, that's not full privatization.
Right.
And that's on the table too. We don't know where this is gonna go, but I'm just getting it out there that it could be any one of the above, so.
Yeah.
Or it could stay the way it is. We don't know.
To Paul's point, we got at least 3 more budgets with where we're sitting right now, or 2 more budgets, 2 more budget years
And,
sitting right now.
Bring us to the town meeting, so.
and I know it's, I'll make it quick. We probably have, if we do go privatization, we probably have to do it split, because if we went 100%, we still have to have some control over how much they're gonna charge out of the residents. We can't allow somebody to come into town and also say, well, we're gonna charge you $50 a week. You know, at least having another company that the taxpayers pay us, we pay them, at least we control the costs. Everybody pays the same.
Good point. So that'll all be vetted through the solid waste committee, and then, of course, that committee will make a recommendation to the board. And then this board will have to make a recommendation to selectmen, and then it would go to the townspeople. So,
So we are 3 years out.
Old Borges' contract runs out June of 25.
So back to trash bags, we're looking at either doing 2 orders or a mid-year order, and we need to figure out a number for that.
yeah, so would you be able to give us that information for the next meeting, Todd?
Yes,
Well, we are in budget season, so.
but there's the part of the other reason why we're trying to order in June is it was like a 6 to 8 week lead time when you order the bags. And we knew we were gonna run out by August and we needed them in July, so that's why we were trying to order them before the budget season. So that was part of it. So I can predict how many bags we're going to sell in a year, and I can tell you how many bags we've got, and then we can figure it out from there.
Yeah, and who our vendor is currently.
But again, we have no contract with the vendor because he won't give us more than 7-day guarantee on a price.
Right.
Just a quick question, if you don't mind, is there a shelf life to these bags? I have no idea. Can they, no, they don't deteriorate?
No, they're not left in the sun, they're in dark.
Okay,
I was just wondering, I was wondering that too, because if we over
right,
ordered and went into the next,
right.
it wouldn't
Okay.
matter. And then we do have to be mindful of how many we get because of storage, right?
Yeah, it's a 40-foot shipping container
Okay,
somewhere,
send them to your house.
somewhere in town.
But we have stores that sell them mostly for us, right?
Yes,
So how does that work? Do they pay for them when they get them, or they pay us after they sell
both.
them? That's good, we collect both of those.
So some pay on delivery, some pay after.
Most of them are paying after. Most of them, when we do a delivery, they'll pay you for the delivery they got last time, and they're always paying in arrears.
Okay.
But
So if we get stuck with them, we get stuck with all their inventory too.
Right, I don't know. I'm not aware of a policy or a procedure in place either. I'm sure if someone's in arrear, they wouldn't get any more,
Right.
but I don't know if there's anything in writing.
yes, they sign a contract with us when they agree to be a vendor.
Right, that should be reevaluated from time to time, I'm sure.
All right,
Okay, so moving to 510 and 519. Based on the discussion today, 519 is going to be absorbed by 510, so all those accounts will move to 510. One budget for the health department and health, and it will be 510. So you want me to run down the list?
mhm,
Okay,
Yes,
so
please.
first line in 510 is 5106 salary health agent. That's currently budgeted at 73,291. I really don't have a recommendation as to how you're gonna fund that in the next fiscal year. I believe everyone's being suggested to level fund. Because no contracts have been ratified and myself, the health agent, don't have a contract. We usually follow whatever the clerical contract is. So that's been the recommendation, but again, I don't have any really input on what you do for this.
Is there any thoughts from the board?
No.
So we have to come on some kind of agreement. Are we gonna level fund this or?
If that's what the town wide is doing, then might as well just follow what the town is doing. And we've talked about contracts, we've talked about looking at job descriptions. I don't think we have the ability to change the salary currently without knowing what that's gonna come out to be too.
Okay,
And also, we're gonna be reviewing this again next week.
and next week, we'll actually hammer out what the
Presented.
client is gonna say, and then that will be
We
presented.
don't really have to make a lot of things carved in stone right now.
No, but if we have some kind of idea of where we're
Right.
going,
Yeah.
We're doing this in 2 meetings for the most part, so.
Yes.
Yeah,
Well, that's what I was just trying to say. We don't need to make a motion now on this and
No,
all that and keep it civil.
next item 5109 currently is listed as Assistant Inspector Vacation Coverage. The recommendation from the administration based on votes by your board is to make 5109 just an inspector's line. Drop the assistant, drop the vacation coverage, and that's the line that any per diem inspectors or any other inspectors that the town, the Board of Health decides to bring on board to help with the workload would be captured. They'd all be paid out of that line. So that line,
Which line? Dump it all under 51.
5109.
And that would include if we went over to that, having like outside inspector, yes.
Yes. And I believe you've already voted to do that, right?
I thought so, right?
Yeah. Well, we
So-
apparently voted to go both ways, that if we need to,
Right.
so if we don't need to, we won't.
So the only way to quantify the amount that we would carry in that line is we need to know how many inspections we're doing in totality a year. And that data I don't have.
Right, and it's gonna be kind of tough to predict with a lot of the housing projects coming in. Even if we knew the number today, the number might increase a lot next year.
It may, yes, you are right. Plus, this is a new path for the health department, so it'll be, I think you can get close.
Right.
But I think it's one of those things that may have to be adjusted, as time evolves, but having that inspection data would be beneficial because with my per diem inspectors, that's exactly how I figure it. I look at the historic inspection counts that we've done. I look at the way the market is. I look at the way things are projected to be, and then I come up with a number that I think is palatable. Which is at that point, just simple math between the number of inspections and the price per inspection. So if you use the per diem rate that I'm using, which seems to be consistent with what the market will support and what will attract inspectors, it's $35 per inspection. We can easily put a number here if we know how many inspections we're doing currently.
We say $35?
$35 per inspection.
That doesn't sound like a lot of money.
How many inspections do you think can be done in an hour?
I have no idea.
You can do more than one.
Now, what type of section we talking?
Food and milk,
Oh, okay,
housing inspection.
all right. I was thinking that you were talking like septic, like,
Oh, you can do a,
yes,
no, you can do a septic inspection though on an installation in less than an hour.
yeah.
And jump in anytime you want, Todd, and just, oh, okay.
Todd, would you be able to tell us how many inspections a year?
I'll just pull up the annual report from 2021 and. We can go
Okay.
from there.
You can have that for the next meeting for us to kind of get an idea.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. And I mean,
Again, it's a rough number
No,
because
that's-
it
yeah.
changes.
And if we came short, like we said, this was like something that we're gonna use like here or there, like, so if we didn't have it, then we would use Todd.
Right.
Am I understanding this correctly?
Yes,
Okay.
I'm following you, yes. We're still in February and June's a long way off, so if things, change or whatever, we can modify that depending on where we are in the process.
Okay,
I mean, that number should technically only be realistically half of the inspections times whatever, because we shouldn't be something that's utilized all the time. So it shouldn't, I mean, it wouldn't even be
yeah, you're right.
all of the inspections times 35. We could even do 25% of the inspections times 35 or 40% just to ballpark where we should be at.
Yep, whatever you come up with, that's the number that'll go in there.
And also, Selectman Chairman told me at any time, we might meet Monday with Jim, because he's the more expertise in zero budgeting,
Mhm.
that he's gonna help out.
Okay,
And he did tell me that, like Jim said, we're trying to get as close as we can to February, but that's not carved in stone. As we get closer to June, if we find out something before it goes to town meeting, it can be adjusted.
okay.
So we're not as against as much of a deadline as. we
As
think
it
we are.
seems,
Yeah, this is,
I need deadlines, so I work better with that.
yeah.
if it wasn't for the last minute, I wouldn't get anything done.
I'm a Sunday night kind of person.
I think we need to come up with a good.
Yeah.
Budget by next week.
Mhm.
Then if it needs to be tweaked a little, that's fine, but I don't think we should be looking at every line after next week.
100%.
For all on board.
5131. So I can only give you my opinion. I feel if overtime is used too frequently, then there's a problem with the labor in the department, meaning either you don't have enough people supporting the department or, you know, something's wrong. So I'm not a fan of funding an overtime line. I think it should be the bare minimum. I know the administration feels the same way. So they asked me to bring $500 to you tonight as a number to carry in that line. But this isn't my department or their department, it's yours, so
But do you know what we carried last year?
2,000.
2,000 for overtime?
And just, so you know, if you look back historically, you'll see that in like 2021 and 2022 were high, that was all COVID overtime.
Oh, this 6,000?
Yeah, that's exactly.
That's like, geez.
Yeah, just like the nurse line was only 3,000, we went to 8,000 that year, which wherever that is in there. So just be mindful, if you look back a couple of years, you'll see that the numbers are really high. Well, the only thing I will throw in, this is the same for both the office manager and the health agent. Is we have night meetings. So you get two choices. You either have to flex their time in order to account for a night meeting. Or you pay them overtime. Now, the office manager we had was overtime for the night meetings, because that's the way it was when she was hired. Obviously, we have a new one coming in, we have to establish that with them. But when you have a night meeting on a Thursday night, kind of hard to flex on Monday to Thursday. I mean, you know, during the day, because you're already past it, so you have to guess at how long the meeting's gonna go on unless you have a hard stop. And you say you're gonna be 4:30 to 6 o'clock, the end, and then that hour and a half, they can take off during the week. So that's something that needs to be.
Predicted how many, I know with everything that's been going on, we've had a little bit more, but how many meetings average do we have? 1 a month, 2 a month?
Well, 1 a month is the regular meeting.
Right.
And then throw in at least a half a dozen special meetings.
Okay, so 18 meetings.
But a lot of the special meetings are generally quick. Like next week would normally be a 5-minute meeting to verify the budget, and to do it at 4:30 when it's Wednesday night, it's under our regular hours.
So 18, and what's the rate? Is there anybody that has
It's
a,
up with it's $1,400 a year for 18 weeks.
okay, so I mean, if we did, even if we did $1,000, we're less than the high end of 18 and I mean, the monthly meeting should be predicted. So if we flex the hours for the monthly meetings, then that's a predicted hourly change.
Right.
It's the special ones that we need to worry about in overtime. So even if we did the 1,400 and cut it in half for the special meetings, you're still looking at $700-800. You know, at an hour per meeting, roughly, you go over, you go under. I mean, maybe $700-800 is a good number. I don't,
And, you know, possibly we could take into consideration. They said, once we figure out this is gonna be 18 hours or whatever it is,
Mhm.
schedule that in for every month. Or however we can.
Right.
Now, if they can't, let's say Todd's working 35 hours a week. But 5 hours a week, he's dealing with some of the meetings. He's only getting 30 hours worth of work done. Well, if we keep it like that, there's no overtime. If we find out that he's falling short on stuff that he has to do in the office, then we could authorize an overtime. But we wouldn't be authorizing overtime every single week. We try to plan it so that,
Mhm.
which it's gonna have to come up in discussion when we discuss with new hiring, so all of the subject.
Yeah.
numbers you just ran. Can you run it off at 8 instead of 12?
8 meetings,
Yeah,
meetings. $600.
Okay, so
That's on a 2.5 hour meeting time.
that's, well, no, that's fine. So my thought process, and I don't know, I hate to cut overtime, I hate to add overtime, I hate to anything. However, you know, in my job, if I have a 6 o'clock meeting that happens every single month, it's an expectation of my job that I'm there and I flex that time. If we have extra meetings, then that's where that overtime should apply to. So, I mean, if we know that the scheduled 12 meetings, we know that that week you're automatically gonna flex 2 hours somewhere. And then the 8 hour, the 6, we said a half a dozen, so with 6 or 8 would be random extra 600, that would put us closer to what the town recommendation is, but keep us a little bit higher just in case.
That's basically what I was trying to say. I'm trying to say the same thing, just different word.
No.
I mean, the 12 should be an expected attendance as part of the job position.
So that's actually 5131 for these office managers. So what number do you want to carry for that? The overtime line we're talking about now, they're both related. Don't get me wrong. The overtime line we're talking about now is for the health agent.
Oh,
Is it gonna be one overtime line for both now?
They didn't answer that question for me today, but we need a number for each one. And then if they decide to do that, they'll be combined into one line.
I
So,
think that the number would be the same for both of them, right? Because.
Yeah, I mean, if the
well, the rate.
Same doll, yeah, the rates.
The rate's different.
both,
Sorry.
both have to come to the meetings or.
So I can understand, were you saying to go with the 600 for the clerical?
Well, so my thought is those initial 12 are.
Right.
Expected, and Todd said add another half dozen, so I figured the first number off of 18. So if we figure 6 special meetings throughout the year roughly. You know, base the overtime budget off of those unexpected meetings would be my suggestion. Base it off of the unexpected. We know we have 12 expected meetings.
So that's $450 for 6. The number before was 8.
Or do we want to just go with the recommended town 500, if that's the case?
If we go with just the regular meetings and then use overtime for special meetings, we pretty much know we're not gonna deal with those special meetings. We're gonna have some.
Oh, yeah.
So if we, even when we're sick, you know, add the 6 special. meetings, I think we're better off to be a little bit high.
Yeah, well, the 6 puts us at 450.
Oh, okay.
If we say the town's recommended 500, we're still at what the town recommends and we're still within the ballpark of it.
Right, okay.
So if you use that same rationale for the health agent, that number jumps up to 600 for the same thing for the meetings.
Mhm.
The only thing that I would say is that if there's an emergency, after hours emergency, that also could be considered overtime.
Right.
So how many times have you been called out in a year? 2 or 3?
On average, probably.
Okay,
And that's one of the things that I was looking for in my contract was that if I get called in on a Sunday morning, I'd like to get like a 2-hour minimum or something like that.
Right.
Because if I'm here for 5 minutes, you know.
No, it's understandable.
That was one of the things that we got bogged down in the contract negotiation.
so if you have 6 meetings and 4 emergency call outs, it comes to $1,000.
Okay.
For the health agent. So you wanna,
Yeah.
Yeah, because if he doesn't get called out in an emergency, we might have, some extra special meetings.
Mhm.
I'd rather not run out.
Yeah.
How much did you say to carry?
$1,000 for 5131.
That's the 1,000 for the health agent, 500 for office. man-
500 for 5131
Okay,
in 519.
So the other thing that happens is because 519 and 510 were in separate lines. If I went over on my overtime line, I couldn't take any money from anywhere.
Right.
So if you put 510 and 519 together, if I'm running hot on my overtime, we could take it from the office manager or vice versa, and you could switch it around if need be. But there was no way to move the money because they were in different accounts.
Mhm.
So just putting them all in the same account will be helpful for managing money.
Yeah, we've looked into that and we don't have an answer on that. Is that what?
No, we're doing that.
Oh, we are doing that.
Fine.
Sorry.
Yes,
That's-
after 4 years
That's
passing.
510 and 519. 519 is going to be absorbed by 510. 519 will go away. All these lines will go.
Talk about that. Okay, sorry.
All right. I just, moving on, we got a couple of page and a half to go. 5152, health agent uniform allowance. I don't have any comment on that.
Is this common for somebody to have a,
I don't get it.
You don't?
No,
How come?
I don't get it.
you look so good, Jim.
But the clerical union gets.
So,
His white dress.
so a little tidbit for people at home. I used to get it. They stopped giving it to me. That's why I wear jeans now. I'm gonna wear what I want to wear because they took my uniform allowance away.
Doesn't clerical union get a uniform?
Yes, and it was taken away from me because I don't have a contract.
But how did I get it and you didn't?
I don't know, you're special.
Listen, if Jim's not getting it, no one's getting it.
I don't care. It doesn't matter to me. So.
Frankly, I think I should get it because I have all these great outfits.
You totally, do, yes.
Okay, so
I don't care if you want to clear that line.
I could use some nice. shirts.
it's gonna go to Paul.
We're all wearing heart sweaters from now on.
It looks like, was it not used? Am I reading this right? Actual expense.
It's paid, don't know exactly how the accountant pays it. It's at the end of the year, I think. So,
I couldn't tell you.
yeah. It's paid in one lump sum.
What is it?
The uniform allowance,
No, no.
$400.
400?
Feel great about it.
I know. I ride the fence on both because I've had jobs that pay me uniform allowances and I have jobs that pay my own stuff. But to your point,
You wanna sleep on it? We got one more meeting.
Yeah, I gotta think about that.
have we used it? Is there money in the account with it right now or?
Again, it's one payout at one
You
point.
get paid directly to Todd.
Okay.
That He buys clothes with it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, some places, right.
Yeah.
It's, when you buy something, you bring in the slip.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I that too.
That's what I have to do with fires. If I buy something, I have to bring them the receipt.
yeah, that's what we did with the water district.
Okay, 5158 benefits communication allowance. That is something that I do get, and I believe there are several inspectors who get that. That is being reimbursed for use of our cell phone, so that the town didn't have to buy and provide a cell phone with an additional, we use our phone. My personal opinion is I'm not carrying two phones around with me.
Mhm.
So that's my phone. Everybody can get me on it. I just have look for reimbursement from the town. Todd gets it, I believe Lisa gets it, so on the.
Yeah.
Do you get it, Tom? You must get it.
Mine's up in the budget. This is a town's phone.
Oh, it's a town phone.
Yeah. So
I just carry it.
Is this number?
that's just $60 a month.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Have you ever thought about getting your phone from the emergency preparedness?
Yes. But if I do get it for that, then it can only be used for Board of Health, so I would need to have two phones.
Oh, okay.
And even though that one would have been,
I carry
it
two.
wasn't worth it to me,
No, I wouldn't want to make you have two phones.
because I use my phone for personal calls as well as.
No, I understand. All right.
So professional, technical, I think we should just bear in mind that there are two, one in 510, one in 519. I don't think we have $1,500 in expenditures for each, which would be 3,000, but again, I don't know. So if you have historic spending there, availability, I don't have that with me. I don't know what has been spent out of those lines in years past. As part of zero-based budgeting, they're gonna look for us to quantify what we spent. If we carry a number, they're gonna say, hey, did you spend that money in years past?
Do we know what we've used that for, Todd?
Lawyers,
Okay.
we've also, I think. I don't want to say subscriptions, because I think subscriptions is a separate line in there somewhere.
Yeah, that's on the next 519.
And it wasn't training, some of it may have been for training, but I feel like it was legal fees, and we had to send out like certified letters and that kind of stuff to people, but
Okay.
Roz would have known better, because she was the one that dealt with most of that, but.
I don't know.
I know there's a need for lawyers along the way for different things. But you don't know when you're gonna need it and what you need it for. I know for a little while there, the selectmen told us they were gonna pay all the lawyer fees, so.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna
carry it
ask.
here. That they would do it, but then when we needed a lawyer, they said no. So. Gets a little weird.
We have to make it clear before we go to the budget.
Be mindful of
Whether
time.
we gotta put money in the budget for a lawyer,
I think we're good.
they gotta
Okay.
take care of it.
Yeah.
Nervous.
No. All right, the last
We're
one.
good with what, carrying 3,000?
No,
Oh,
no,
we talked about the times.
no, we're good. We're just talking about the time.
Oh,
So that will have further discussion. We only have a half a dozen further discussion, I think so. The next one is a special article. That's the one that you're gonna have to work with Tom on. He's gonna need that for roll-off containers. That was a annual town meeting special article. So Tom, whenever you need anything, just let us know. There's 12,000 in that. And then the last thing is, which I probably should have started with, but it was at the bottom of my list, is they want to add a 5105 at the top of 510, which would be the first line. With a zero budget, meaning it has no money, but it is Director of Inspectional Services. So if we go that route as a town, the accountant, the administration want us to carry that line both in my department's budget and your department's budget, and it'll be a split roll between the two.
What number did you say that would be?
5105,
Oh, it's carried, it's a placeholder for
placeholder.
future discussions.
Yeah, exactly. Whether or not it comes to fruition is to be seen, but they would like to add it as part of the FY 24 budget. If you don't include it, then we have a problem, so. Okay, 519, as I said, this is gonna be absorbed by 510. The first two, salary chairman, salary members. I don't have anything input on that. That's up to you. You want to give yourselves a raise, you want to do level funded, that's up to you.
I think
If we-
level fund.
Yeah, if we level funded everything else.
I'll throw at you that, when the board split in 2017, they were told it was gonna be $5,000 a year salary, and we haven't gotten it, and every year we ask, and every year we get told no, but it was decided in 2017 that it was gonna be $5,000. I know this was kind of something that came up every budget season, but if everybody's happy, then can leave
Yeah,
it.
we're coming up to like the
But you weren't.
year, I
My
don't,
previous board, they were there when they were told you're gonna get $5,000 and they never got it. Anyhow,
We're getting pretty close to that anyways.
yeah, and I mean, we're coming into a difficult year. I don't.
Yeah.
See myself needing to make it more difficult.
5106 town nurse,
Yes, right.
5106 town nurse, I don't know anything about that either, so whatever.
I'm not gonna speak on that because I'm obviously.
well, so years past, the nurse would use 2 to 3 hours a month. Which wasn't very much, and $3,000 is all we carried. Then COVID hit and obviously everything got blown up. But since we've had Mrs. Mello as our nurse, she's been doing more than just taking phone calls about tuberculosis and other cases. She's been involved in the opioid, Greater New Bedford Opioid Task Force.
Yep.
She's been doing flu clinics and that kind of stuff, because she's been expanding the public health of the Board of Health. And so the $3,000 isn't enough, but is 8,000 the right number? Should it be 6? Should it be 10? I don't really know, because we haven't had like a full year of non-COVID to know what it should be.
So you said it was roughly 2 to 3 hours a month or a week?
Yes, a month. That was just handling the cases of.
Right.
Tuberculosis.
Things are gonna change. It's not gonna get any better. You know,
Like I say, she's doing so much more than the other nurse was just per diem just for that, and we've expanded the services. So.
okay.
And I can bring how many hours I do a month, like past when we had the COVID.
Yeah.
To our next meeting, so we can look at what I'm actually doing.
And so I'm just, what I can and can't ask, so you're covered, your salary is separate from this, or what you get paid as a town nurse? Is that, yeah,
Yeah,
separate from the
line.
line item? Okay, so this is just, we hit that budget for what your salary is or your yearly compensation is, and this is addition if we have overtime.
No, oh, wait, no, we're talking about, this is for me as the nurse.
Right.
Oh, okay, all right,
Mrs. Mello has dual role. She's the chairman of the board, but she's
Yes.
a nurse.
right,
Those are paid separately.
okay, so this pays the nurse.
Yes, this,
Okay, so
Yeah.
this 3,000 is, okay, I apologize, I thought you were like a full-time nurse for the town.
no.
That's my apologies, sorry.
It's a hell of a.
Uh, Yeah. it is. All right,
All right, so
yeah, can we figure out the amount of hours or?
Yeah.
I mean, the COVID numbers aren't gonna come down, and with mandated vaccinations, possibly it's gonna,
But are you happy with that?
She doesn't have to do contact tracing anymore. That was where the hours were.
Pay rate?
Don't do that anymore.
okay,
I am, but I would like to just take another look at it to see if maybe I don't want the town to be giving me more hours than I need, because when this was, like we said, COVID. So now that we're out of that, I am well happy to look at what I actually do and revisit that.
And what you want to do.
Yeah.
Right, and I was just talking about the hourly wage.
Oh, yes, yes.
Okay, so we'll revisit that.
Really?
Oh, it's Dayton.
So we'll revisit that next week with some more information.
Okay.
5115 salary, that should be level funded. That's the recommendation. 5131 overtime, we already discussed that. That's going to be $500. 5152 benefits clothing allowance, that's contractual with the clerical union, so that number can't be changed. 5151 training, $1,000. I don't know what you have for training on the docket. But it looks like you did expend almost half of that to date, so that if that's the case, it probably is a good number to carry.
Yeah, especially I'd like to see more training happening when we're going like with the blueprint that we got, the mass blueprint. So, yeah.
We may need to increase that, so. 5300 professional technical, we talked about that, that's gonna be combined, so we still gotta come up with a number for that. 5340, I didn't know what this was, communications, I'm told that it's public outreach. But Todd, I don't know that for sure. Because we haven't spent a dime out of that.
I don't know.
Didn't we already talk about mailings and stuff?
Yeah, but that wasn't $400. That's like $1,500 for us to get.
That was-
It might have been.
Oh,
Right.
oh, yes,
Strictly for health department.
okay.
Mhm.
I couldn't tell you. I'd have to look that one up.
We can discuss that.
Okay,
I mean, that might need to stay if we're health department. Notifications for stuff that's going on.
Yeah, and there's things that I've done as the nurse that I would have. I kind of just like
right,
what I needed because I didn't know really where to go.
right. And the last two, office supplies, I'm sorry, last three, office supplies, travel and dues subscription. I think we just need to look at our historic spending and come up with a number to carry for those.
Okay.
Awesome.
I will say that due to subscriptions and some of the trainings there. Like every 3 years, you need this training, or every year, or every 2 years, or every 5 years, so it's not.
There's more than others.
Every year is this.
Yeah.
It's the only thing I would say about that stuff.
That works.
Any further discussion?
Nope.
Can I get a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Can I get a vote?
Aye.
Aye.
And we're adjourned at 5:49.
Thank you.
It is.
That all got it? You too. How do you want to say this on?
Hold on, Paul.
Thanks, Todd. I was so loud.